If you are planning on speaking during public comments and you haven't signed in over here, if you could do that, that's a rule that we have to follow by state law, that if you want to speak during public comments, you need to sign in. So if you haven't done that, you have time to hop over there and do that. Thank you. Lee? Okay, I will call the meeting to order. Its agenda, date, time, and location were properly announced. Thank you all very much for coming out tonight. It's good to see a crowd. We will start off the meeting with the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of August 19th, 2024. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Katie, is there a second?
I'll second.
Rini, are there any corrections or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have the payment of the bills. Is there a motion to approve for the month of August the amount of $867,601.10?
So moved.
Chuck, is there a second?
Second.
Brian, are there any questions?
There are a couple questions by Rini that Patty got. Were there any other questions that you had after Patty's response?
No, and thanks for the thorough response.
No, no problem.
All right, any other questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have the cash summary.
You can see the cash summary there. Nothing really new, and no questions on this.
Anyone have any now? All right. Next, we have donations.
Yes, Donors Choose is already going. We had one this month. We're going to have two more for next month already. So especially our elementary staff are doing some really great things to use Donors Choose. We have people that are donating to our classrooms. So congratulations to Mrs. Reed for the new school year project being funded.
Great. Very nice. That does take us to public comments. Yes. All right. Amy.
And first,
Yeah, can we have?
so
you-
I go
Yeah.
over here?
Yes,
All right.
please. So we have Amy Wilson speaking as a parent regarding changes and homecoming. No.
All right. So as a parent, I'm just a little frustrated with all the changes this year. I know I've sent Mike a message about this already. It's understandable, we've had building changes, we've had schedule changes, we've had no phones for our students. The Ramway is now WIN. You know, there's changes like that that allow the teachers to make some changes to their classroom time, that sort of thing. But now, the recent changes with homecoming is just super frustrating to me. And I know Mike, I've sent him a message about this already, but I just wanted to make sure I shared it with everyone else too. As a parent, I like to go to homecoming. I like to go to the activities, and they're all during the day now, and I work, and I can be flexible, but not always, and I know a lot of people can't be totally flexible to come to these things. So I just feel like we've changed so much this year that to change homecoming now too, it just seems so frustrating to me. So I just wanted to at least share that with everyone, because I can't, the only way I can do it. All right,
Thank you. Next, we have Carrie Walber. Is that correct?
Oh boy.
Corey. Oh, I'm sorry.
Do you want to move to the next topic first? Okay.
Hello.
I'm a Random Lake alumni. I grew up my entire life here, and my kids go up here, and I love the small community and everybody here. I, as a parent, growing up here and now seeing all these changes coming with the building and just changes in the culture of the school are a bit concerning. The biggest concern is, I know that there was a high-level overview of what was proposed for the addendum and the big budget for the building advancements. You know, I saw bathrooms and it just said bathroom upgrades, and I thought, hey, it's been the same since when I was here. I approve of definitely upgrading. Changing, you know, I do a lot of research. I do a OSHA, DOT, and EPA compliance background. So seeing specific changes for specifically Title IX was not really laid out there on the proposal for the addendum. And what I mean by that is Title IX originally came forth decades ago to focus on women not being discriminated in education setting, right? We've advanced from them, that's great. But now I know that the world is changing. Everyone, I feel, has a right to identify that the way they want. But I don't want it impeding on how my children are in an education setting. You know, if we're changing bathrooms to make it more open to anyone and however they identify, or keeping it specific to what you feel you are, you know, we're gonna have to make mom bathrooms, dad bathrooms, visitor bathrooms. I just feel like we used almost $1 million just for completely revamping the locker room setting, which I remember locker rooms. You go in there, kind of hang out, you get ready. You're not there to really do anything other than get ready for gym class or a sporting event. Now I feel like we're making it so specific on what people are identifying as. I, as a parent, feel that we weren't really given insight on what these specific bathroom changes were. In regards to Title IX, there are a lot of schools that simply just installed 1 or 2 unisex bathrooms. I feel like we completely revamped and used almost $1 million for a budget to make it more gender how you identify specific, versus maybe putting that towards after-school activity advancements. Our school program for sporting is going down. Our enrollment for school, I don't see much of an incline. And I love this town. I love the small community. And I feel like parental involvement wasn't really involved. And, sorry, I'm a researcher. So I did look, and of the feedback from the initial survey for the addendum, for the referendum of the proposals for all of the upgrades to the school, there was only a 22% participation rate, which is definitely small. I feel like we should have had a cap a little bit, just maybe dig a little bit further on areas that maybe certain community members or parents didn't agree. Almost 40% alone were over the age of 65. Not age discriminating. I'm just saying that means it's not parental involvement of our students here, right? 28% only were from Random Lake community. So I know that we have parents coming from, and families coming from like Sherman, Adel, other areas, which is great because it's boosting our enrollment. But I feel that we should have really focused on who is here, parents, students. I know we can't really ask students how they feel about it, but I, as a student, I grew up here and I felt like the locker rooms and the bathrooms were completely okay. I never felt uncomfortable, or I know that advancements need to happen, but I feel that parents, specifically parents, because our kids go here, were not really brought into why this big change. The bathroom advancement was almost $1 million, which was number 4 on the list of the cost breakdown, which is huge. And I feel like we made it smaller. We made it more individual access. I have concerns now also about the cameras. I have IT background as well, and I'm concerned of breaking into IP address, breaking into who's to say a girl goes in the bathroom and a boy's not going to go in after, and then before another girl goes in, use a camera. I have one of each, so I have concerns on both sides. I feel that specifically it should have been more detailed on what was proposed for this big budget. I am glad to see like the advancement, the gym and the cafeteria, and it's going to help bring in more enrollments, hopefully. But this is causing concern, and I live close to people that are alumni here that choose not to send their kids here just because we are kind of aligning with other areas and what they're doing to make it more socially acceptable. But I think we can all agree, most of us here went to a school where you had a bathroom, use a bathroom. You have a locker room, use a locker room. And I feel like parental involvement really needs to be there, especially if we're sending our children here, and especially for people that have even been here before. I just feel like that was completely lacked, and I think that's the biggest concern of why a lot of parents are here, is because it was not detailed out. It said on number 7 on the proposal, bathroom/locker room updates. What does that mean? I thought updating the flooring. It's been the same for decades, right? I thought updating toilets and sinks, but not completely revamping it to make it more where, I even asked my son before I came here if he'd heard about this. My son's an 8th grader, and he thinks, I won't say in 8th grade terms, because I don't know their terminology nowadays, they have weird words, but he just thinks it's silly. He's like, it's gonna make me feel uncomfortable on what bathroom to use, on where I can go, going in after a girl. I mean, it's just making it more uncomfortable. I get we're trying to make sure every student has a chance, but upgrading a bathroom is not impeding on a student's education. And that's the biggest thing with Title IX. So that's all I have to say. But I love Random Lake.
Thank you.
No problem.
Ellie Gruman, speaking on changes and parental insight.
Well, I'm not going to be able to follow it. I'm an alumni from Random. I have 2 daughters that graduated, and I currently have one in high school. And I just have a few comments in regards to, there's so many changes that has happened this year. Kids have a hard time adapting to change, but the new school, I guess Amy commented on it, the Ramsway versus Wynn, the bathroom passes that are currently out there compared to, hey teacher, can I go to the bathroom? Here's a pass, you need to have a pass to go. The schedules, homecoming, I travel a lot for work and I'm not able to attend anything because things totally got changed. The cell phones, the building itself changes, lunchtime, you know, sometimes you're sitting with high schoolers, with elementary, with this grade, that grade. I feel, you know, school should be an environment where the environment helps the students succeed academically, emotionally, and reduce the risk of harassment or any type of negative outcomes. So I guess having the lunches intertwined with elementary, middle school, and high school, you just don't know what's going to happen or come out of that. So that was one thing. And with these changes, is that why a lot of the teachers left this year? Like 16 teachers from our school district left? Did they leave because of these changes? There's my statements.
Thank you. Mary Schomer, again, speaking on changes and parental insight.
So I have lived here for a little over 22 years. I have 3 boys. My oldest did graduate from Random Lake, and we loved it. I have 2 more boys, one in middle school and one in elementary. And like so many other parents here, I'm sure like you've never seen this many people attend a board meeting. But you know, a lot of us moms and fathers all talk to each other at different sporting events or events that we see each other. And I guess a lot of us that are part of this community, that have loved this community, because, you know, I grew up in Wauwatosa. This is a big community, right? A lot of people, a lot of different things. The reason why I moved to Random Lake was because it was a small community. You know, like, a lot of us know each other, and that's great. And we felt like our board members knew us as parents and what we wanted for our kids. And the reason I'm here, I didn't do as much research as some of these other ladies did, but my main concern was talking with other moms and dads about the bathroom situation. And in talking with my husband too, we were thinking, did the old bathrooms have a security camera in the hallway? You know, and if these new ones do, what does that say? Like, you guys must not have thought it was a great idea if you need a camera. So I guess that's kind of my question. I didn't know how this was gonna roll, but can you guys answer that? Like, did the old bathrooms have a camera where you could see who was going in and who was going out for the male and female bathroom?
Yes, outside the doors, yes. As similar as we have them now, yes.
Okay, because I guess that's kind of, again, I grew up in Tulsa, right? I'm street smart. But, you know, being in Random Lake, I don't think my kids have to be as street smart as I was, but that's just kind of a concern of mine is I kind of feel like, and I feel like we are a conservative community, and that's one of the things that I like, is that we are conservative, and I feel like with some of the money that was spent, we are in line with Madison, with some of these other very liberal cities that have things like this that I don't necessarily agree with. So, that is my thing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next, we have Carrie Lloyd. I'm not sure. Speaking on changes and bathroom locker rooms.
Yep, kind of on, Corey pretty much summed it up, so thank you. But also an alumni, and I just think also on all of those notes of we grew up having this be a small school. We never were the kind that had, my husband graduated from Port. We never had large classes and all of that kind of thing. We never had 300 graduate from a class or anything like that. But I just worry that we're moving in a progressive way, kind of like Mary said, we've always had small town feel and everything, and I don't want us to go the direction of maybe like a Madison or something like that, where that small town stuff gets lost. I know we do have to move with changes and how things go, but I don't want us to get too progressive here that the kids, I also have an 8th grader, and he is already like, well, then I just won't take a shower at school, or some of those things. Or what about when we all used to just run into the bathroom and wash our hands before we were gonna do this? Now it's a small area. Yes, some things are good, sometimes you need that privacy for a bathroom or something like that. But I just don't want us to lose that small town feel with all of the changes. I wasn't aware of like the high school, I don't have a high schooler right now, but a lot of those things where I don't even know if those changes are coming up, and those are gonna be changes for my son next year. So I'm actually learning something tonight that I didn't know. But I just, the small town feel that we've always had here, and a lot of us have prided ourselves on. I see a lot of faces in here that I did go to school with, and we all knew what we grew up with here, and a lot of this is not that anymore. So.
All right, thank you. Annie
Sweeney?
What?
Is it Angie Sweeney?
Okay, sure.
Hi, I have a junior and a freshman here in high school. My two concerns, I like to speak more in bullet points, but one is communication and constant change. Similar to what Amy and Ellie have said, that there's so many changes this year, I can't even keep track. Between work and what's going on with the kids, I did learn the homecoming schedule and the sounder on Thursday, but I will tell you that as a healthcare provider, your schedule's worked out months in advance. And I want to try and support my children in the last 4 years that I get to hang out with them. And so when things are changed last minute, I'm not able to. I actually was able to take vacation tomorrow to go to the powder puff game to learn today that there's no powder puff game. So PTO, not sure. Okay, so stuff like that, it just interferes with not only their lives, but ours. I understand that we want to include other elementary and middle schoolers to watch, but why are we taking them out of school? Like, I send my kids here during the day to learn and not to necessarily attend other activities. And it's great, like Brandon Miller, here's a positive, he got a big East Pass for all the high schoolers to attend the activities after, so if you don't know about that, I think that's awesome. But during the school, I want my kids here learning, and I want to try and attend the things that I can attend in the next 4 years after work, so that I don't take vacation and then don't need it. And then the second thing is, I'm a little concerned about cell phones. So my daughter told me that they have pocket folders in the room, but they don't use them. And I've taken care of a few people that were on the bus accident on Monday, and a lot of the kids didn't know their phone numbers, and a lot of parents didn't know their kids were on the bus. And so with Life 360, that might be an easy thing if they at least could just have it with them, like, hey, that was my kid on that bus, or like where they are, location-wise, because I had a parent tell me that someone didn't know until they got the email that their kid was in that bus. So I just wonder, is it really safe not to have cell phones in this day and age with all the risks and what we see on the news and that sort of thing? And then my daughter also told me that they take college courses. They're having trouble with IT, and they're told call IT, but you can't use a school phone. So not quite sure how they're supposed to get that. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
It's Cass O'Hara.
Okay. Homecoming and communication.
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback on what Angie and what Amy said. I feel like the communication for the homecoming events has left a bit to be desired. I have a high school son, so I understand maybe the communication going to the students at that age. But if you know any high school boys, the communication should not only be going to that age. As a parent, I would also like the communication. Or, yeah, like I didn't know there wasn't a powder puff game. I don't know, and my son, God bless him, he doesn't know how to sign up for the boys volleyball game. About the like class t-shirts, you know, he had very little information. We went through his email together, but just as a parent, I would appreciate more communication. And yeah, I was really looking for, my son is a freshman, so this is his first year getting to do any of the homecoming activities. And I was really excited to get to watch potentially him do the volleyball game, and then I always love watching the powder puff game. So I was pretty disappointed when I saw that those were during the workday as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Angel.
Hi, I have a son who is a new freshman, and I also have a new middle schooler, a sixth grader. I came here for the same reasons as Angie and Cass. Amy said it well. The communication has been very lax. I'm very frustrated. I asked my son tonight, and he's frustrated. He doesn't know if he gets to even play in the volleyball because no communication was given to him or provided. I also helped or went through his emails with him, and I couldn't find anything. We found a sign up for other activities, which we signed up for, but could find nothing about the school colors or what they were supposed to wear and the volleyball. I also have concerns about the cell phones in use. I always want my kids to have their cell phones on them. If there are specific children that are having an issue with having their cell phones on, then punish them. Don't take away the cell phones from every single child, because I want to know if something is going on with my child at school. They should always be able to call me and get a hold of me, always, no matter what. I do want to touch point on the locker rooms. I know I didn't write that on there, but I do like the locker room situation. I do like the single shower. I was also an alumni for Random Lake, and I didn't shower because bullying is prevalent everywhere you go. And now my son said he would actually shower at school, where he would not have before.
Thank you. Next we have Joe. Is that right? Speaking on bus incident.
So I have two kids in the elementary school, but I'm coming here tonight both as a father and as a fire rescue personnel. I have 19 years with Silver Creek, 17 of which I've done their training for them. For the last 12 years, I run the trainings in the county. I'm the president of their association. Professionally, I work at Brayton Stratton as an engineer. So I come to this meeting as a father, as fire rescue, and also as kind of a problem solver in engineering end. But I'm also here to educate myself on some of the policies and procedures that were followed the day of the incident. A lot of things went right, and I think everybody went home, and we can see that a lot of things went right. A lot of care was provided expeditiously, but there's also areas that we can improve. I'd like to understand, and I'm not sure if this is the right forum or this is an offline deal, but I'd like to understand how the student accountability was taken on the bus. For example, is it just a list that hangs on the bus? If my son has someone sleeping over at night and they get on the bus with him, is that student accounted for? If my daughter's home sick and she's not on the bus, is that listed somewhere? And again, I say that also as a rescuer, like when I'm handed a list and I count 37 and I have 36 people in front of me, I need to find that other person. So I'd like to understand more of how those non-regular riders are handled, and certainly the absenteeism. And then as it relates to the parental notification, I don't understand where some of those items landed, but I think, and again, I'm here to educate myself, to understand what the policy was, how it was followed, and how we ended up, because I have yet to run into a parent that has been notified from the school the day of the accident. Everything that I've ran into so far has been, you know, my coworker had to tell me, or somebody on the bus had a phone and I had to borrow it from so-and-so. So I'd like to understand some of those challenges and how it affected that, and not only that, but how were the items handled as to scene security? Was it really grandma picking up my kid, or was it somebody else? How do we handle the people that were entering the scene and coming to pick up the kids? I'd like to understand that more. And I'm not coming here tonight to place blame on somebody. I'm actually looking to work with someone, and I don't know who that right person is, but I bring a lot of avenues to this, and I might be able to close up some gaps. So, again, I don't know if this is an offline conversation, but I'm willing to help where needed, at least understand the policies of what you guys have. Thank you.
Thank you. Jody Keller, regarding showers.
Well, I agree with what's been said so far, and I think you wouldn't have this many people here if we had known about this prior to it happening in the showers. I found out on August 27th that we're not going to have showers in the locker rooms. We're just going to have single-user shower rooms. I was keeping up on all the updates. I read the sounder. I have since checked progress reports, the referendum tab, emails. I went back and looked through all the sounders. I went through minutes from the school, from these meetings. In fact, on the referendum website, there was a referendum presentation. It was there on August 27th. And then we all found out about this, and now that file says, sorry, the file you have requested no longer exists. It's very strange. So I'm wondering, I went through the walkthrough. I'm not disagreeing that it is beautiful. It's pretty. But one of the questions I have is, how did you make this change without any taxpayers knowing? And that is the question that nobody wants to address. When did you approve it? Where was it posted? Why didn't anyone see it? Which then it's like, well, what are you doing at the middle school? What are you doing at the elementary school? What do we not even know what's coming that we don't even know? The minutes reflect referendum discussion. The sounder says locker room renovations have begun. The agenda says referendum discussion. The progress report says locker room renovation. The transcripts don't discuss it. So would the referendum have passed if you were honest with the taxpayers in 2022 that you were going to have boys and girls showering in the same shower room? That's gross. Like, what girl wants to go shower in a bathroom after a boy was just in there? So one of the concerns I had at the walkthrough that's now being looked into, I said, who has the key to the bathrooms and the shower rooms in case there's a medical emergency or an assault? And they looked around and there's no key, there's no plan. But now there is. They're thinking about it. So if that wasn't thought of, what else are we missing? So tonight I'm going to bring you some more concerns that I have. And I think that's where this frustration is coming from, this gray area. If this change was made for the betterment of the children, you know, why didn't all the coaches know? Why weren't the parents told, the students, the teachers, the community? Why was it only a select few? Why can't you allow us to share concerns before you chose to make this massive change? And the more people that find out about this, the more concerns and questions that they have. It's like, well, what about this? I'm like, oh, I never even thought of that. It's like, who's in charge of the Wi-Fi? What if somebody hacks into it? Now all of a sudden we have 12 cameras in this area. Now we're all of a sudden going to be seeing our kids on social media in this, if somebody hacks into the Wi-Fi. So as a mom of boys who are in football and wrestling, I have high school boys and I have a middle schooler. They participated in workouts before school, FIAD class. So I can only speak to the hygiene of boys. And when the twins were freshmen, they never showered, but as juniors and seniors, they did. I heard girls don't shower. Well, I went to the first home volleyball meet, and lo and behold, 2 girls walked out after having just showered. So you don't know what kids will or won't be using the showers. But you also took out the toilets. So now there's no toilets in the locker room. So now everybody has to use 6 shower rooms. They have to all wait in line. So, we'll deal with that if it happens, that's what we've heard. Well, that's not an answer. So, can we stop being reactive and start being proactive? And that goes back to the bus thing. Did we ever think the bus was gonna crash? No, but was there a plan? Probably not. But now it's like, well, that happens, now we need a plan. So let's not wait for an assault to happen, or a rape to happen, or an overdose to happen. Like, can we get a plan? What protocol is gonna be followed? What about YMCA? Are these areas locked? Who's monitoring all those kids? Who is enforcing the rules? Do we have manpower? Because a rule is only as good as what's enforced. As far as the bathrooms go, I've heard, they say boy and girl, but the principal says you can use anyone. So if a girl, if she's saying, oh girls, if these are full, going to the boys, and they're telling the boys, if the boys are full, going to the girls, then that's a unisex, that's why you can have a sign. Like, that's where it's confusing. It's confusing for the kids because, same with the cell phones. You can't have cell phones, they have to be kept in the locker. Well, if the teacher likes you, he's allowing you to keep it on your desk. But then, the next teacher's like, you can't even have it in your pocket. So it's confusing for the kids, the whole communication. Are the parents made aware of the expectations? Because now that you have this, I would, as a parent, I want to sign a sheet before every Phy Ed class, before every sport, at the start of every year. If they're giving a warning, are the parents notified? How are we notified? Are any offenses a code of conduct violation? In what area does that fall into? Is it unbecoming of an athlete? Because that's another gray area. Right now, there's a kid in 8th grade identifying as a boy. So if that's happening in middle school, I can only imagine what's going to happen in high school. Prior to this referendum, what rooms or areas of the school did the kids have access to that had locked doors? Because now there's over 20. Who's monitoring this 3 to 5 minute time limit, and is that even realistic? I don't know who can go to the bathroom, undress, get showered, dry off, get dressed again, and come out in 3 to 5 minutes. Who's watching the cameras? So if there's 12 cameras and it's so safe and our kids are so good, why do we need 12 cameras? Was someone going to be watching to make sure everybody who enters the bathroom or shower comes out? What's that plan? When you mix teenage boys and girls together who are hormonal, a 14-year-old and an 18-year-old, they have very different maturity levels, as do girls versus boys during teenage years. So what's the plan if a student is falsely accused? What's the plan for the football players who enter the locker room after practice without shirts because now they're not considered fully dressed? What's the plan for the wrestling team? They don't have shirts on when they leave practice. Now they're headed to from the wrestling room to the locker room. Now they're on camera, and now they're violating a rule because they're not fully dressed. What's the plan for the overlap? Football and volleyball are at the same time, basketball and wrestling. We don't know what the consequences if they break a rule. How is it communicated? There was maybe a tiered system. It depends on who you are. It depends on what it is. It depends if you're a repeat offender. That's confusing. What if a girl or boy accidentally or intentionally leaves the door unlocked and someone walks in? What happens then? Is there a punishment? Who gets the punishment? The person who forgot to lock the door or the one who entered, not knowing it was in use? We already talked about safety cords at the walkthrough. Someone has, let's see. Yeah, who is monitoring the cameras to make sure everybody who enters a shower area actually comes out? What if someone slips and falls because now they're walk-in showers? You have cutters in this high school. So what if somebody goes in, cuts him or herself? What if someone ODs? What if somebody's in there but they don't answer? And they can't hear you. Now somebody does go in and opens a door, a locked door to an underage naked student. So then what? I mean, we all know what happened with the Kewaskum resource officer. They didn't plan on that. So it's like you don't know who you can trust. This can happen anywhere. I don't think anyone is going to be nonstop staring at a camera. Like if you look away, is somebody rewinding the clip to make sure that they didn't miss something? Or is the camera's only good if something happens? Like, then we heard this happen, so now we're gonna rewind the camera and find out what happened. But then is the video footage gonna disappear if it doesn't align with what you want to see? So, Where is this list of rules and guidelines posted? What are the punishments for any rule that's broken? How are the kids told what the expectations are? Will the punishment be different for a boy versus a girl? Or an athlete versus a non-athlete? If a girl leaves the shower in a towel, with that being her dress, or a boy leaves the shower in a towel as his shorts, is it punishable? What about the visiting team? They get one shower. Where are they notified? Like, did somebody tell them? Because some schools are, they don't know that they're only given one shower. So how is everybody receiving this? Every sport, every coach, every athlete, who's communicating it? And then is it reviewed every sport season, every year? Whose job is it to make sure that the athletes from other schools knows what's expected? Now we all need to send our kids with 2 towels, one for the floor, one to dry off. So it's just, if you were trying to eliminate a communal shower, Cedar Grove just did a locker room renovation, Oosburg did, Planet Fitness did. They have individual showers in the locker rooms. There was plenty of space to do that. That area back there is very large. So what makes our kids different than their kids? What events can we host? Because now regionals and sectionals, you get one shower. And I think it's interesting that when I've researched this, and I cannot find any other school in Wisconsin that has this, and I don't know if when you were deciding this, if you went and looked at other schools and you're like, wow, this is so beautiful. This has been going on for 5 years. This is how it works. But I haven't found any. I found one in Pennsylvania. They took out their locker rooms and they put in 76 showers. You've given us 6. But when I researched this, it says, because I couldn't find any school in Wisconsin, it says gender neutral, all gender, unisex, and gender inclusive bathrooms are all comparable with bathrooms that are welcoming to all students no matter how they self-identify. Since language can be a positive or negative trigger for many, it's recommended each teen use a term that best fits their community. For many, the term single user best explains the purpose and intent of the design, helping smooth the transition from traditional facilities. That's the message that we're receiving. They aren't unisex bathrooms or unisex showers, they're single user. It's the same thing. So if this change is made to make our school all-inclusive and gender-neutral and to promote gender equality, do you think students are going to start flocking to our district or leaving it? Is this supposed to bring more athletes to this and students to the school? And what happens when more families choose school choice out of Random Lake or start homeschool? Do we have a large surplus in our budget that we can afford to lose 50 to 80 kids, which is about $500,000 to $800,000 in funding? Or are we going to end up doing a referendum like Ozaki to make up for the deficit? And in closing, it sounds like we're only looking in one direction. And as responsible, caring adults, we need to look at all directions for the health and wellness of our kids and the future of our world. So what happens if this backfires and doesn't turn out all perfect? What's the plan to help the victims, the affected students, and the accusers? Even if an impulsive teenager does something, they have to live with the aftermath for the rest of their life. And then what's going to happen? How will this be dealt with when the media comes in to showcase our new special feature?
Thank you. And Tanya Knoll, showers, lights, parking lot.
Tanya Hall.
What is it?
Hall.
Hall. Okay, thank you.
So I just had some concerns about the lights out there. You guys don't have them on. My 75-year-old father was tripped out there the other night after volleyball. Is there any temporary lights going to be put up for that? Because that's a big hazard of what happened the other night there. I guess with talking with Jody, she's hit a lot of the points that I have gone over with her and other family members here. I don't understand what will happen. No one is giving us answers if our children are in that situation. We say we have good children. We have great children. We all think we have great children, okay? But they can make stupid mistakes, stupid. And we're just directing them more to do that with these single-use showers. And, I mean, homecoming, communication. Amy said it, communication. We have a lack of at this school. I guess my communication skill is hotspots. We do not have the internet at home. I still have not gotten any word back about hotspots for children that do not have internet. So now they're at home and what's happening, they're not getting their homework done. So they're getting penalized at school here. But staff gets them. So why is the staff getting them but students aren't? I mean, it's just a concern. You want these kids to thrive. You're not helping them. You're not at all. But in closing, I don't have anything else because, like I said, we've all been communicating. Jody has done a wonderful job of putting everything together for all of us.
All right, thank you.
Just one question. Thank you, Jody, for organizing this. How many people made it to the open house where we spent 2 hours talking about all this? Show of hands. How many people made it? Okay. How many would like another open house so we can discuss all this again in the future? Okay. So we will do another one. I can tell you my experience and the people that were there. We had about 50 people show up. And a lot of people had a lot of questions. By the time it was done, I would say 90% knew why we made these decisions and supported them. So we will do that again. And transparency is always what we're trying to do. And we will set a date sometime in mid-October to go through and do the same thing over again. And hopefully more of you can make it at that time. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, referendum. Do you have any more on the referendum?
No, we have an enclosure in there for an update, and I think as you can see, we got the road done in the back, and we just keep on keeping on.
Okay, you guys have any questions on the referendum?
Are we allowed to talk or respond? Or
No, not to public comments, they're not on the agenda. So this is information for us to move forward with, but we can't have open discussion, as they are not agenda items.
Can I just ask, you guys gonna open and talk about this at the next meeting? So
I think Mike just said an open house.
An open house,
That would
but,
be-
right,
that-
an open house is completely different answers. Did I feel that they were answered? No, it wasn't.
I think what people are trying to get to is they want to be able to go back and listen to it on live and everything like that, because you guys aren't answering any questions tonight. We're going to go to that open house. You guys are going to answer the question, but looking at all your faces, half of you want to respond, but you're not. And I think that's what everybody wants. We want to see you guys sitting here. We want it on the agenda. We want you guys to talk back to us so we can all understand what is going on in the school.
And I'd like to say something as the new high school wrestling coach. For those who don't know me, Justin Ludloff.
Justin.
Yep.
You weren't on, so I need you to make sure that you sign.
I'll sign if that's okay. Grew up, wrestled here at Random, graduated in 2011, got hired on as the new coach. Not trying to pick a fight with the school board. You guys did what is already out here. My only suggestion is we have all these concerns about the locker rooms, which, again, if I can have everyone's attention as I'm speaking. The biggest thing that, from a coach's standpoint, is, as a coach, the hardest thing that I thought I was going to have to do was getting these kids engaged. Making sure that they're coming to practice, that they are, I guess, trying to be the best that they can be at that sport. And now from a coach's standpoint, you guys throw the issues with the showers, which everyone, again, has the right to be concerned about. But there hasn't really been much discussion as what we can do as a solution. Right now in the hallway, there are 2 bathrooms back to back that are between the guys and girls locker room. For a temporary solution, I would think that we could easily put a wall between those 2, keep the guys and girls separated. You still have 2 fire exits for the individuals that would be in that locker area. And then we move forward as a community, actually having a discussion, an open dialogue with the parents and the school board to find out how we can correct and rectify it, that everyone is now on board with. Because I'm all for independent showers, I am. I think it's a great idea but doing it appropriately in the individual locker room, like Jody mentioned with the YMCA, I don't know if Ozaki is, but Oostburg, Cedar Grove, having shower heads on the walls and dividers in between to still make them private. It's the same how I went to college, the exact same way. You can still get your independent facility, but again, I just want to make sure that it's being discussed. I don't understand why that would be so hard.
So what we were talking about, as you were talking, Justin, was how do we address this?
Yeah.
And I think that in looking at the agenda, we have referendum discussion. And if we keep it to the locker room and the bathrooms, we can probably have.
We can go take a tour right now if everybody would like to take a walk and tour.
Open dialogue on that. But we can't address the other things. So we could put it under the referendum discussion and still fall within the rules that we have to follow as the state mandates. So if you guys want to all go down there, take a look at the locker rooms, and we can do that.
I have a quick question. So for us to speak tonight, we brought forward our questions or concerns. So it's just hitting a wall and nothing else is going to be like responded? Like in regards to my question, it was like, with all the changes, why did 16 teachers leave this year? Is it because of the changes that were done in the school district? Or like the homecoming issues, like when are they going to be answered? Or anybody else's questions? Are they going to be answered at all or no? It's just a concern to you to move forward and no one else gets to know?
So part of regulations with meetings, we can only talk about things that are on the agenda.
Okay.
Right? So when you bring questions, we have to stick to things that are on the agenda. So when Justin started talking and we have all these concerns about the locker room, since we have a general discussion here for, and let me see how it's posted, right? Referendum discussion, we then can speak about the referendum in the locker room because that's one of the big issues. So trying to think creatively to have these discussions and still not break open record rules and all those other things. So
to get the answers, I'm asking, so next meeting, next month, you're recording it, someone can dictate everything, and all of us can come back and you can answer all those questions?
Or we can set up
so it'll be
meetings
on there
individually, however those individual
No,
questions.
I don't think it needs to be individual. I think everybody here, when they're recording it, it's all dictated. You answer exactly like, you know, she said her stuff, you go, okay, your question was this, here's your answer. My question, you answer. Amy question. Everybody's questions are answered, not just, thank you for bringing it to our attention, and you move on. So put it on your agenda for next meeting so we all can get answers.
But I think that's part of the problem, because I know, again, I have a son who graduated, and I remember there was a referendum to give money then, and then a couple years ago, you know, those of us in Random, we signed up, yes, again, let's do more money for the schools, which I think, again, this is a great school, a great community, but I think a lot of us are concerned with the way the money is being spent, that we are not being kept in the loop on how the money is being spent. And we would like to have more of the feedback in those questionnaires. Because I know I try to answer the questionnaires, and it always seems like however I answer is not the way the majority answered according to the feedback, which I always find kind of interesting. But, you know, I think as a community, again, because we are a small community, we want to be part of the decision making, especially when we're the ones who are paying for all these beautiful updates.
And why do we need to go take a tour? Why can't we just address concerns? Why does, like, 'cause then it's like off the then it's like not, if people are watching from home,
Well,
are
we
they
can
all
just
come to-
go take a tour. We don't have to have the discussion there because several of you have not seen it.
So take the tour and then we come back and then we talk about it.
Sure.
I think the bathrooms look nice. My thing is the communication piece. The number 7 bullet point that every community member had to answer yes or no to simply said bathroom/locker room updates. But there was no detailing exactly why and the amount of money. I love some of the other updates, like the road going in the back, that helps with congestion, but now we're adding congestion for when kids need to go use the locker room, the bathroom, showers, all that. I just think the communication is the biggest concern.
All right,
is
well,
what we're
let's
all
go
saying.
take a tour and then we'll come back. Because we're repeating ourselves, so let's go, take a look, and then come back. So,
I'm gonna sign that sheet real quick.
All right, let's call back to order here, and how do you want to proceed? Who's got a question that needs answered, or?
Well, actually, let me just kind of talk a little bit about the locker room. So last time we did the open house, we had Nate Considine, which is our architect from Bray, talk a little bit about the locker rooms. And I know there's a lot of questions about why we did the locker rooms this much and we're wasting a lot of money. And the design of this came really from a couple other initiatives we were trying to do. So if you remember the old locker rooms, it was the boys' locker room, the trainer's room, and the girls' locker room. And both those doors were always unlocked, and it was one of the scariest things I've ever had to do, because we had a room that a boy could get to a girl's locker room unchecked, and a girl could get to a boy's locker room unchecked, because we needed that to be open so they could go visit the trainer. So, and also if you ask Jordan, it was the worst design for a training room ever. If you're a trainer, you need access to water, you need access to ice, you want to be able to get things out on the field, you want to be able to get things into the court. And our old locker rooms had our trainer going through the locker room to do everything that she needed to do. So our initial piece was we wanted to create a space that gave Jordan what she needed, but then also had a boys' locker room, a girls' locker room, and a visitor's locker room. So with that, through just talking to coaches, talking to other people that were here during the design process, it was pretty evident that our showers were pretty much underused except for our wrestling boys. And it was, especially our girls, one of the statements I had heard is the girls' showers weren't on for probably close to 10 years. Girls just weren't showering. I have a 15-year-old daughter at home. I know she isn't comfortable showering in group showers. So from there, we started talking about how can we create spaces that are actually more efficient and effective. So we've always talked about being more efficient and effective. One of the reasons we're going from 3 building offices down to 1 is for staffing reasons. We work better because now we have 1 office instead of 3 offices. The reason we've gone from 2 libraries down to 1 library is for staffing, and we can have a better one space than multiple spaces. And that's what we did with the locker room is we wanted to upgrade our green room facilities for a theater room. If you didn't know, they were in the sub-base, it was the sub-floor, the old locker rooms, and they were subpar for anyone to be in. So when we took over the visitors' locker room to put our new green room for LPI and our theater kids there, we then were able to take 3 locker rooms and put them into 1 footprint. So as you see it, we have the girls' locker room, we have the boys' locker room, and if you go around the corner, we have the visitors' locker room. And we did that as a way to have everybody in 1 area. We can lock down the school better. You can see that there's new doors in lockdown areas. And with that, to use that footprint to work, we went with this design for the showers. The showers really came around because we went with the supervision with these bathrooms, and through that process thought, wow, if we can give our students a single-use, private, safe, secure shower, this will be something that maybe our girls will shower more, maybe we'll have more shower use. And we're hearing already now, we have girls showering that I would ask if they showered the last few years, may not have. I would say they probably didn't from everything I've heard. So the design of the locker room was really around, we put a lot of resources into showers that weren't getting turned on. Now we have rooms that are being utilized more often and are better places to use. As you can see, they're clean, they're low slip, they're easy to clean, they're easy to keep clean, and that's really how this got. I know there's a lot of talk about Title IX and all these other things. I can tell you that these plans were started 18 months ago, right? Right after the referendum, we started talking about what do we want, how do we future-proof our community, our school for 20 years. and this is what we got to. So Title IX just got pushed down our throats August 1st, right? We know that was the new regulations that the federal government's pushing on us. So any of that narrative that this was done for that reason, I think that's a very convenient consequence of what we were trying to do with this whole space. And I will tell you, I've seen other schools that are doing things because of the pressures coming into school. I've seen stories of windows into bathrooms. I've seen the way schools are really trying to address this thing that's happening in public education. I will tell you, hand on the Bible, we have the best way to keep our kids safe. And if we ever run into a place where we run out of showers, we have extra space in the green room where we can host tournaments and people can shower there. We have a middle school locker room for boys and girls. We have so much flexible space, but we're not using real estate for things that aren't used very often. And that's really the design of this. Chuck and Rini, I know you were on the design process through all this. Anything you want to add that we discussed at that meeting? And then I want to make sure we get some of those questions that were asked for our viewers at home.
Yeah, I want to talk about the discussions and kind of how we came up with what you got to see tonight. One of my biggest concerns about the school was plumbing issues, because I walked into the school when it literally stinks. And so I wanted to make sure from the beginning that we were taking care of any plumbing issues. I was there the night of the show when the dressing rooms flooded and the whole auditorium stunk so bad. And so I really wanted to make sure that was taken care of. When we were talking about, someone mentioned there was a referendum question, maybe number 7, that we were going to do, or something was itemized about addressing locker rooms and bathrooms. At that time, the actual plan wasn't developed yet. We just knew there's plumbing issues, fixtures need to be updated, bathrooms, locker rooms, showers need to be addressed. And so when we started talking about these at one of the meetings, what I heard, and I was surprised, that we had issues with vandalism in the bathroom, bullying, hazing, and vaping, and that most of our, or a lot of our problems, especially disciplinary issues, were happening in the showers and bathrooms and locker rooms. And so we went to Bray, the architects. In that meeting we asked them, how can we create a space that would be safe for our students and also give them privacy? And that was the intent of individual bathrooms and private showers. And when I heard that it's being received as a liberal view or very progressive, and then hearing the definition that was shared of single use, I want to assure you 100% that was not my intent in any of those discussions and those meetings, that we were trying to create that kind of space. The intent of that space was to create a safe place for every student where they could have privacy and not experience bullying or any kind of hazing. And then as far as on the maintenance and cleaning side of things, having to deal with vandalism issues, sometimes if there's a lot of students in there, you don't know who was causing the problem, but now they're spending money and people are spending time addressing toilets or plumbing that's been stuffed with paper, and there's a lot of problems in there. And so the intent was that, I think with the cameras, it was if there is a problem, then they will know who it is because you'll be able to see them on camera. But the biggest thing is that it would be a deterrent. So, I mean, we just want the kids to get in and out of the bathroom and hopefully not cause trouble in there. And most of our students aren't, but if something happened, then they would be able to see who it was, but most of all, deter someone from doing that. So, I mean, that was kind of my stance on it. And then Bray, when they came back with the design, I guess we did talk about we're able to offer more showers if they were shared. Another thing that came up about someone saying it's gross to use the bathroom after, for a female after a male. We even had those conversations, and that was one of the things I insisted that it would be a girl's bathroom because I wanted to use a women's bathroom and not go into a bathroom after a man. And so, sorry if that offends anybody, but just as far as, hygiene, cleanliness, the women's room and men's room appear different on a lot of different levels. I'm trying to think what else I want to say. I mean, you've raised a lot of issues that we do need to be proactive. I think we need to reassure our families or parents about any concerns with the cameras and hacking. I don't know how that works, but I think we can get an answer to that. And then as far as notification, rules and guidelines, that communication is really important. I absolutely agree with you on that. I don't know what I've missed.
I think you covered quite a bit, and I would address that. And just to follow up with that, I just want to make a statement that several people, like Randy mentioned, think that we're kind of turning toward being a progressive or liberal, like, school board or that attitude. I want to assure people, and anybody here knows me, I am probably the most conservative person that you're going to meet, or at least be that way. And that was not at all our intent when we decided to go forward. We spent in hours, I would say 40, 50 hours of time going through these plans and making decisions, thinking about what was best for the children and best for the kids and how to make them safest. You know, you raised a lot of good points about, you know, what if this, what if that, what if the other thing, about locked doors and things. I agree, we probably did miss the idea of maybe a call button, that safety, that maybe we did overlook. But I think locks make things much safer than they make them unsafe. What was to prevent, if you didn't have locks, what was to prevent the guy from walking into the room behind the girl anyhow? A lot of the issues you raised, there were issues regardless of whether there's locked bathrooms or locked showers or not. I don't see how that is any different based on what we have now than what was before. I just want to assure people there was no intent here to deceive the public, as Rainey alluded to. The process of how this went along, we talked about each area, and there was input from teachers, there was input from coaches. The extent, I don't know, but I know there were listening sessions that occurred. And then it was filtered down to a small group of, what, 6 of us or 8 of us, and we, in discussions with Bray, the architects, made these decisions based on information we received from Bray and what the future is of other schools, what they're going to, what some of the best options are. So we believe we put a lot of deep thought into how this project came out. If we missed something, you know, truly we're sorry about that, but we think we did a pretty good job at trying to think what's the best option for the kids. And I think cameras are really a great benefit for deterrence, because kids have to learn that, you know, they are responsible for their actions. I had kids, all 3 of my children went through this school district, and I think they had a great education here. But they had to learn, if you do bad behavior, there is going to be a consequence for that. And cameras will allow us to hopefully find out those people that are misbehaving and those that are not, and make those people, you know, hold those responsible that are. But back to the overall thought, I just want you to realize that we really thought we did the best we could on this job. We're not trying to go down that road of progressive ideas. You know, concern about students that may come here in the future or are here now that can't decide whether they're a male or a female today or tomorrow. Some of this, it wasn't the forefront, but some of this is actually meant to address that. Where if you go individually into a private bathroom now, where you're not going into a group bathroom, if you're not sure who you are, if you're a male that you think you're a female, if you go into the female bathroom, well, you're the only one in there now. You're not going in there with offending 3 or 4 other people. That was one of the thoughts we had, as I recall.
One other item. When I heard of all the issues and problems that we have in bathrooms and showers, I think I might have said, do we even need to have a shower? Like, by law, do we have to offer showers? Because it sounded like we had a lot of money spent, a lot of problems with issues in there. And Bray told us by law, he said, do you know how many showers you're required to provide by law? And the answer was 0. So we didn't even have to put showers in. not saying we wouldn't, because obviously we need them for sports. But then, I guess just given all of the data, the pulse on what we heard of things happening, we wanted a safe and private space for every student. And that was the intent.
One more point I just want to make too is, I heard some comment about the bathrooms and they were told they could go in either or. We were specific, and we were adamant that we are still going to have male bathrooms and we're having female bathrooms. And then for those that can't decide, there's a family bathroom. So if some kids are being told they can go into either, that's just not true, okay? That's not the way I understand it.
It's at school from the principal.
Well, that's not what,
Let
that's not the
me, let
intent.
me speak to that, since that was
Okay.
taken out of context.
Thank you.
Because I had a female student ask, what if all the female bathrooms are full and the boys are wide open and I really have to go? Is it all right to go into the bathroom? And I said, yes, please go, because you have to really go. And that was the question, and I want to put it on the record so that way it's in context of what the question was. Because they're individual bathrooms. We were talking about the individual bathrooms.
And my understanding is we have as many bathrooms now as we had before, correct?
We, as far as stalls that were in there.
Yeah.
We have just as many stalls as what there was
So
in the group
it's
bathrooms.
not like we've created a new problem with fewer bathrooms. I still think that, at least my understanding is you wait or you go to the family bathroom if you're a male, so,
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
or a female. I just wanted to put that out there.
And I know we had this discussion, I want to make sure they hear it at home. When we were designing this, this was a 20-year investment for our community, right? So we put a bond together that we will be paying off for the next 20 years. So when we did this, I think we did a very, we tried to do as cerebral as we could, looking forward and seeing what's happening. We talked about how we can add vape detectors in the future. We can add things like gunshot detection if we choose to. We can use AI to help us identify bullying in the hallways if we want to, by the words that students are using and all those other things. Those aren't things that we have right now, but what we have right now is a place that for the next 20 years we can, whatever gets thrown at us, we can take care of, right? And I appreciate if everybody will listen to me when I'm talking. Because what we do right now, in the last 3 weeks, I've had a handful of other districts ask us, show the plans, and see what we're doing here. And if you think 15 years from now, the things that we're hearing, I said this at our last open house, I'll say it here. We're getting pushed things that do not make common sense right now. And I think we all know what I mean when I say the things that are getting pushed in education, we become this political place where we're trying to do what's best for kids today and what's going to get pushed at us for the next 5-10 years. And I can stand behind and say, I think we've done the best we can without knowing the future, but it's going to be discussions like this that help us keep navigating forward.
And it sounds like we need to have more conversations about how it'll function, especially for the wrestling team.
That's my biggest worry.
Right. So I hope we can have some good discussions and figure out a plan and be proactive about that, as well as I'm wondering with AI, another kind of proactive approach, because we don't want to have a security issue in the bathroom. Would AI be able to identify if more than one student goes in, or could it identify like the time a student goes in, and then somehow there's a digital timer, and then there's alert if someone's been in there more than 5 minutes? I don't know what's possible.
I don't know, but everything is, every day something more is possible, right? And that's what we have set up with that.
So, if I can speak again. The only reason really why I'm here today is I just want to make sure that once the season starts that we're using the locker room hallways appropriately. I know you guys keep saying everyone has to walk down the hallway as if they're going to biology class, right? Well, you're not going to walk shirtless to biology class, clearly. But from a wrestler standpoint, when we're leaving leaving the wrestling room or we're leaving the weight room, the guys have our shirt off, is that considered, no, they get in trouble? What is our protocol? Like, where are we drawing the line? So I know as a coach, hey guys, you need to keep your shirt on all the way through until you're in the locker room. Like, do you guys have anything so I know what to go off of?
I'm just gonna answer in past practice, and I had another parent ask this. We know our wrestlers, when they're done wrestling, either takes their singlets down, right, or
Correct.
those other things. We use common sense here, and we're gonna continue to use common sense, and we're not going to be looking to cause issues where there doesn't. So what does that look like? I think we need to talk a little bit about a team, but since we haven't made an issue about our wrestlers walking with their singlets down or their shirts off in the past, we tried to stay fully clothed, but I think we need to make sure that we're covering our private parts, right? I mean, and those are the things that would make the most common sense with that.
Okay.
So,
I was just going to say that the dress code policy is that the private areas need to be covered.
So that's school day dress code, which is endorsed on, I guess, is there a distinction between like a wrestling meet and your regular school day?
So your private areas are your private areas, they should be covered.
we're talking,
Right.
so as long as they have shorts on, they're fine.
Right, yeah, as long as they have shorts on, yeah.
Right, so if they're going from the locker room to the shower room with their shirt off, and any kid, they're not gonna get in trouble. Because their private parts are covered, correct? I mean, I'm just,
Correct.
we have to be on the same page
As
for
a
everybody.
past
Sport, no
practice, they've
sport.
walked to the locker room without their shirts on, and that's been fine.
Yeah, I just want, with the new locker
Yeah,
situation, I
that
just
hasn't
want to
been an
make
issue.
sure we're all on the same page and there's no potential hiccups that we may come across. That's the only reason why I'm here.
So is there somebody monitoring the cameras in your offices? I mean, are they all up on one screen at the same time? You know, so if you're monitoring it, if something's happening and nobody's monitoring it, will it, you know, you can record and go back? I'm just curious for security, how many cameras do you have? Do you have a big screen like that and everybody can see it at the same time, or?
So we do have a community resource officer that does man the cameras at times. Sometimes he's out working with kids and things like that. We didn't get a chance to go, Mr. Donahue's room, we have a large screen TV that has all 4 cameras at all times. So the person that's responsible for that area now will have that feed in his room at all times, which for us means that we actually have better supervision in that room than any time I've been here in my last 8 years.
But the hallways and everything, right?
With the hallway, I'm talking about the locker room specifically for Mr. Donahue, those hallways back there, but all the other cameras are monitored by our CRO, yes.
Thank you.
So during sporting events at night, somebody's in Mr. Donahue's office watching the camera to see what's going on in the hallway and the locker rooms?
No, Mr. Donahue's not in that room.
Right,
and-
so nobody's really watching them at night during all the games?
Right.
I think the design is more the idea of reactive. If something happens, we're expecting that it'll be brought to the attention of a coach, a teacher, or other students, and then you reactively go back and look for it. I don't think it's practical that we can expect to have somebody monitoring the camera 24/7, or any time an event is going on. I mean, at times, may that happen? I would expect, sure. And just the fact of not knowing when that could be is a deterrent in and of itself. And that's what cameras are really about, is a deterrent.
Right. So something I brought up at the walkthrough was somebody sleeping in the bathroom for a half hour and not in class. So one of my questions is, if somebody is in a bathroom and overdoses in the morning and is marked absent, is anybody calling the parents like, hey, your kid is still not here? Because if the door is just locked and the next kid goes, oh, that one's locked, I'm gonna go to the next one, and then the next kid comes and that one's still locked, nobody knows, like, that one has been locked all day and nobody has ever come out. Like, who is monitoring if somebody went in, if they actually come out? And I know we're like, nobody's gonna overdose, nobody's gonna commit suicide, nobody's gonna die, nobody's gonna pass out. We're assuming nothing bad is going to happen because maybe it's never happened in the past. But is there, like, are we just gonna wait for the janitor to like open the door to clean, and then how does the janitor even know?
I'll answer it the same way I did last time when you asked the same question. And especially in our high school, I see on a regular basis, when a student isn't where they're supposed to be, we know that. We're a small environment, we know those things. If a student was there first period and doesn't show up second period, we have a few hallways. Our kids don't get away with that type of stuff. We are one of the tightest on truancy. We have people that make really good relationships with kids, and we know what's happening with them. Could it be that a student would be in there for 5-10 minutes? Sure. But is it going to be more than 15 or 20 before somebody recognizes that they're gone? It's really tough in this school because we have so many people that are watching. And if they go in between a passing period and they don't show up, that's a 5-minute piece. If a student leaves a classroom and doesn't come back in 10 minutes, we have somebody calling the CRO, say we're looking for little Johnny, little Susie. So could it happen? Sure. I'd be more worried, something at night. But I can tell you during the school day, our campus is, I've been into a lot of places. We have this as tight as we can and still making it that we know what kids are doing, but they still have freedom. So that's something that could have happened anywhere. And at night, any of the bathrooms. If a student would have went into any of the gang bathrooms and had a medical issue there and nobody went into that gang bathroom for the rest of the night, I would hope a parent would be calling and looking for that. So we have second shift custodians now. We have people that are checking these spaces on a regular basis. We have a new cleaning crew that's cleaning these spaces every night, making sure that the investment that you guys made look nice today and 20 years down the road. I would put my word behind everyone that's checking these spaces that it's not going to take long before we're going to find something.
Another question I had, since we're talking about the referendum, this came up over the summer. A staff member told me that you took out the $29.9 million up front, reinvested it, already made 3.1 in interest, and then spent it on, added back other things that were not included in the $29.9 million. Is that like?
Your numbers are a little wrong on that. But from the referendum, we will probably earn about 1.5 to 2 million in different in revenue from the investments from taking that out, and those have added additions to our campus. So, but always staying under that $29.9 million question that you voted on and said yes, and always fitting the things that were added or put in were always under the question that you were voted on. So it was always, everything was great. Every month we talked about the things we were doing. We showed that. We had Nate come numerous times. Even these plans were brought forward. If you want to see my file of these plans, it is somewhere around probably 3,000 pages of documents of the things that we're doing. So all this stuff has always been above board and transparent. We understand there's a lot of information coming at our parents. We had no way of knowing that this was going to be such a lightning rod, and if we did, we would have did another area to make sure you guys knew that what we're doing puts us in a place of putting all of our kids safe.
If we could just add to that, Mike, too, about the process. It's not realistic that every time we had a change or a different idea that we would have brought it to the public per se, and had the public vote on it. Is this the right way to go? We're here to represent, the whole district. And if we do something that's not right, then by all means, let us know that and vote us off or whatever. But our intent was never, like Mike said, to hide anything. It just wasn't practical that every time an idea came out that we were going to go put on hold the plans and then go back and see what the whole district thought about it. That's just not a practical way to do when you're making plans or building the future like we were. So we made what we thought were our best educated, our best informed decisions, and I guess I stand by that. It was our intent to do it the right way, and the safety of the kids was really what was out front, our concern.
Maybe Jody, I guess to your point about the extra money, right? Like the referendum wasn't how much are we gonna spend, it was how much are we gonna borrow. And we stayed under what the bond was, and then this extra money, like, we pulled it, we borrowed it at exactly the right time to like invest it higher than we were paying. So, I mean, would we rather like not spend that interest on like this extra hallway to connect these? Like, there were some great things that we cut back on because we were trying to get under the 29, that we were able to add because we just happened to hit the market exactly right when we reinvested the money. So it's not like we are borrowing more than the referendum said.
Right, but I'm thinking like Ozaki needed a referendum to just move money. So if you had 1.2 million that you just got in interest, and you just decided how you wanted to spend it without any taxpayers' input.
No, that's not
Like,
true.
No?
We can only spend that money on the question that you answered yes to.
Right.
So everything that you answered yes to is what we did, and we're very tight to making sure that any of that fit within the question. You can't just take referendum money and say, hey, you're gonna do this, and we're gonna buy, hire 10 teachers. This went to that question, and it's something that we have stuck to, we still stick to. We run into, some of that is coming with some little Easter eggs and surprises we found from the past, like secondary parking lots and things like that. Extra plumbing on top of the plumbing that we've done. Mike has done a fantastic job of trying to make sure that what we do right this time, right? We're not doing it because it's the cheapest, we're doing it because it's the right way to do it. And that's something I think we all want to stand behind, that long after we're gone, people will look back and say, you know what, this was a pivotal time that we weren't doing the cheapest thing, we were doing the right thing.
Cece.
So I just have to say, as a parent and a staff member here, I am so thankful that you guys did pull staff in on this whole process. You listened to us, you took our advice. Every step of the way, you were very transparent. I want to let everybody know that, because I don't want anybody to think they were not. They listened to us about the carpeting. They listened to us about all the things. But really, what you just said, the plumbing, the things that weren't done the right way last time, they're fixing all those things, and they're making this building what my kids are going to be in for the rest of their high school career. And safe. I mean, there were so many, we're built on a swamp. There were so many things that all of this water is building up, and they're fixing it to make it really, really nice and safe for our kids. And I want everybody to be aware that they are taking every step very seriously. And as I was sitting and listening to some of these concerns, I was a little disappointed, to be honest, because I am a full believer in this district and how close everybody is and how word travels so fast and it can get misconstrued so fast. And Mike is an open book. If you have a question, he will answer it. I walk down to his office every day almost with anything. I could go to him with anything. So I will say this whole referendum has been awesome, in my opinion, as a staff member and a parent. I really do agree with it.
I'm just wondering a couple of things. I mean, we started the meeting hearing about communication concerns and changes, and just students and families wanting to know what the expectations and guidelines are. And I'm just wondering if there's a way we could maybe post some guidelines in that hallway for the showers, or like visiting teams, especially when they come in, that all the players are very clear that you are expected to have your private areas covered, however you want to say that. And then maybe we ask for either a coach or parent for evening events to just stand in the hallway if no one's watching the cameras at night. So I'm just wondering, is that something we could do? And I realize as a board member, I'm supposed to stay in policy, but I'm just wondering, just for reassurance for everyone here, because we all have, big concerns, if that's something that would be helpful, because I think everybody just wants to know what's expected, and we're all here because we care about our kids and we care about this school, and I really appreciate being able to have a conversation and hearing everyone's concerns. So I'm thankful we were able to take the time to do that. And I guess I would just like to know, how we will respond to this evening, that everyone, our students especially, have clear expectations of what is expected of them in the shower specifically.
And maybe what the punishment is. So if a boy is in the bathroom and a girl goes in 10 minutes later because he didn't lock the door, and they get caught, who's being punished? What is the punishment? Are they like off 25% of the sports season? Is it just an out of school? Is it an in school? Is it a detention? Is it a warning? Like, I think as parents we need to know, if they do this, this is the consequence. If they do this, this is the consequence. If this is the first offense, this is the second offense. Because otherwise it's a very gray area. Then it's all like, well, it depends. If you're not in sports, then you don't get punished. If you are in sports, you do. If you're not in a current sport, it's the next sport. It's 25%, but then you also had this from the last year, so now it's a 50% punishment. I think that's where it's very gray. And if we don't know what it is, and then it's just sprung on us, like, oh, your kid did this, now he's off 50% of wrestling, which is like a lot. I think that would be.
I guess it's hard. I mean, I've been doing discipline for 23 years, and to say this equals this and this equals this gets away from natural consequences of poor choices. And I think part of the sports code, we know if it becomes a code issue, it's because you had some sort of interaction with law or police. Maybe you did something that got yourself a referral. Maybe you did some things that, if we have to have a conversation with you and you don't have a good reasoning on why that happened, and it's bullying or vaping or drinking or cigars or God knows the different things, we have created as step by step what happens. And we know we have a room full of teenagers that make poor choices, and as we make poor choices, it's always progressive discipline, right? This is what happens the first time. We have a conversation. We have a natural consequence to, if you did this, this is what's going to happen. If after that conversation you didn't learn, now it's going to be a little bit more stiff, and you didn't learn from that time, it becomes a little bit more stiff. I think we do a pretty good job of staying pretty clear to that. And trying to bring parents in to have those conversations with our kids so we can have that. But, if a boy walks in and a girl forgets to lock a door and it was green and they walk in, that's a conversation of lock the door, please, right? Like that's not a consequence to somebody that went in there. If there's a video evidence, which we will have, that somebody's going in and then somebody tries to force in and take a sneak peek, we can say, oh, she didn't lock the door or he didn't lock the door, but we have video evidence of what that looks like. That's going to be a different conversation because that's totally different than a door closed. You can see it in videos. The door was closed, somebody walked in, oh my goodness, I'm sorry, I see you. Those are honest mistakes, and we have to be able to have conversations with our kids about honest mistakes and then poor choices, and I think we do a pretty good job of that.
I do have a question. So you see on the news where in public bathrooms, or even not in public bathrooms, people put cameras like up in smoke detectors in the toilet area where they can't be viewed. Like, if we just have cameras in the hallway, who's to say a boy isn't going to go into the girls' room and put some sort of recording device, and vice versa, although, but how are we going to monitor that? Are the janitors, is someone going to be going to the bathrooms looking for those types of devices to make sure that we have kids that aren't trying to record other kids?
I would say that was a problem no matter what the bathroom structure is. You know what I mean? That's been something that unfortunately as society starts sliding into these things, that can happen in a group bathroom, that can happen in an individual, that could happen in shower spaces. Luckily we have cleaning staff, we have people that keep an eye out for those things. So those, coulda, woulda, shoulda type things, I think some of those could happen anywhere, and I'm just hoping that we are alert enough that we're keeping an eye, and in a single spot, there's only certain places that you can hide them, and I'm hoping that we're, being cognizant of those kind of things. We haven't run into that here, but I never say never, right?
Not that we know of, right?
Yeah.
I think that's
Well,
our
I
call
think-
and
I think if you look at the bathrooms, there's really not a practical place you can hide or secrete a camera or a microphone. Not to say it's nothing's ever impossible, but I just don't think, right, Mike, it's just not really feasible.
Well, you have a great point. I mean, the unfortunate part nowadays is you can make cameras that are this big. But to what Mike said, are you really gonna stop that anywhere? I mean, I get it too. But you go back to what we had said prior to with the old locker rooms. It was easier there to do the things that you're saying now for the past, what was it, put in 95, so whatever that is, 30 years. It was easier in those locker rooms than it is now. Simply because when a girl walked into those locker rooms and a boy walked into those locker rooms, as soon as they walked through those doors, we couldn't tell you what they were doing. Had no idea. Now, yeah, I mean, we're making them come out of the locker room and go to this, single-use thing where they are camera, where now we can say, okay, so-and-so went into this bathroom, or these two people went into this bathroom. Whereas before, you didn't know, and they were exactly right. I mean, I've worked here for 13 years now, and you could walk, whether you were a boy or a girl, you could walk right into that locker room, through the doors, and into the other locker room if you wanted to do that. And so could the girls. And to say that it didn't happen, I think we'd all be pretty foolish to say it didn't happen.
You had a comment back here.
I just had a question. Can I get clarification on the bathrooms? Are we allowing boys to use girls and girls to use boys?
And if they're not.
And if we are, can we back up and not allow that? Because if we do have the same amount of bathrooms that we used to, it shouldn't be an issue. A girl should be able to wait, or a boy should be able to wait. Do you know what I'm saying?
I think that was answered in an emergency, if.
Well, but I don't think we allowed that before.
Well, it's a different setting now, right? So, I mean,
But
that's something that, in that context, I think we were trying to illustrate to our students, because I think one of the questions, we don't have enough bathrooms. And I've been to enough Packer games that a girl was asking this about a boy. I know what it's like going to a Packer game. Girls take, you don't have enough stalls. I think it was, I know it was a way to say, we're trying to make this as comfortable for everyone as possible. So if that's one of the main sticking points, yes, of course. But we want to, I think we're trying to show the convenience of what we did around the privacy. So yeah. And I don't know the first time we have a intermission at an auditorium or any of those other things. Yeah. So it's not something that we're saying interchange it. It was in the context of you have an emergency, please.
I think a girl emergency, though, was going to be different than a boy emergency.
And I believe the question was from a girl.
Oh, yes, but my boys would probably clarify a boy emergency as different than a girl emergency, so. Okay.
I just want to make another point. For concerns about what's going on in the elementary school and the grade school, none of this bathroom stuff is going to be an issue. They're slightly different, but they're still going to be group bathrooms per se. The access points are going to be undoored, but walkways so that you can't see into the bathrooms, and if I'm not mistaken, the sinks and things like that will be more in an outside exposed area. So we won't have this issue that people are concerned about now in the grade school and the middle school.
There's still boy bathrooms and girl
Yes.
bathrooms. They're not individual, they're group bathrooms, but the sinks are in the hallway where they can be monitored more when they're washing their hands. And there's no door to have to open to get out of the actual restroom.
So we can hear what's happening in the bathroom, because we know sometimes our little ones like to mess around. And one of the places we love to mess around is take toilet paper, get it wet, and throw it against the wall, right? You know, that's a lot of fun. We don't have to worry about those things now. Yeah,
I think
that's
it's
definitely.
designed, maybe you've seen it, or
I guess you could still do it. But, so this concept of trying to future-proof, it's across this entire project on trying to think smart about how we can do this. That's why we said, okay, do your business, come out and wash your hands. You cannot see in, right? There's blind corners to get in, but we can hear now, those things. Those are all the things that went into this design.
I just have a camera question. Is it, so, it sounds like we get a lot of updates of like cameras, surveillance kind of in the bathroom locker room area. Did we update anywhere else amongst the building or even outside by recess?
I think we added 70 cameras total. Was it 70?
Something like that.
And
70
are they,
cameras.
like, are they checked often for like I know I've had incidents in middle school where sadly it wasn't on camera, but it was obvious something happened and just camera wasn't available. Like, do we do like checks like weekly or regularly to make sure that cameras are all in use?
And we had blind spots, right? Like, we've been slowly investing in cameras, more for the deterring part of it. So there's a lot of things where it's amazing how things happen in our blind spots, right? Sure, there are sometimes cameras are down, but those 70 cameras went to try to avoid as many blind spots as possible so we can see what's happening in all areas.
Are they like the rotating?
We went with stationary, but there's three different models. There's a single view, there's a double view that can look down a hallway, and then there's like a 4 view that can go there. So we try to use as few, be as efficient and effective as possible with the cameras, because they are pricey and you have to pay a license, but we try to do the best with that. Lee?
There's also a 4th kind that can be like in the middle of a hallway that points both ways. We have that. As the cameras are coming online, we are verifying that everything is up and running. Our new system can handle probably 2 months, holding at least 2 months worth of camera data if we're recording 24/7, which we are right now. But as the cameras come online, we're able to make sure that they're up and running. So we are making sure. We also have the cameras are not accessible by anyone on the Wi-Fi except for the IT staff and other staff that need to be able to access it. So they are not even on the same network that everyone else is on. So we have a lot of security. We've had a lot of security put in place with our cameras, but we have even more now, and we're tightening up that even more as we go along.
Anyone else? Before we move on, go ahead, Ellen.
Just my last question is, so I just want to confirm that my question before we were excused to have the tour. So the other questions that aren't being discussed tonight because it's not on the agenda, that'll be on next month's agenda to answer those questions that we asked today? Besides the bathroom?
The bus.
Yeah, like the busing, the homecoming, the changes on that, as well as the, the reasons for, the 16 teachers that left or whatever, did they leave because of these upcoming, changes and stuff? Or is it just kind of like questions we gave you and you're like, hey, thanks for coming and thanks for giving us this, and you move on and that's it? Like, are we actually gonna get answers next month at the school board?
If the building principals or Mike want to put it in their report, I don't see why we couldn't answer some of those.
Perfect.
I don't know that we can get into details about the staff, but,
Correct, but,
within reason.
That would be wonderful.
I would think, yes.
Thank you.
And I just want to say, we've spent 2 hours on this topic, showing that there's nothing that isn't open, right?
Yep.
And if there's things that aren't a place here, just like Cece said, if you want to talk and have individual questions, we keep ourselves open to that as well. So we can do it here, we can do it individual. we're always trying to do our best, and that's why we took 2 hours. We found a creative way to do this. I appreciate Gina and her leadership in saying, okay, we can't comment, because this is not about public comments. This is about a referendum discussion, which fit nice into this. So I think it's a tribute to this entire board for finding ways to have this discussion and making sure that this was transparent.
Anyone else? Okay, if no one has a problem, I think we'll go out of order. Blaine Warner is here somewhere? Or he was? Oh, there he is, okay. So it's number 9 on our agenda, which is the 12-week EKG testing.
Okay.
Well, that's good, we have a lot of athletic parents in here, so that's be a good time, good audience for them.
So my name is Blaine Werner. I'm a retired City of Sheboygan Fire Department paramedic, and been a paramedic for 30 years. And I had a couple of incidences in my past that we had like 3 or 4 kids that we had to work on that went into cardiac arrest. I don't know if you look up LeBron James' son went into cardiac arrest this past year in a big basketball game. She's got the football player that went into cardiac arrest this, a year ago or something like that. I can't say what they went into cardiac arrest for, but when I was in a paramedic class up in Manitowoc, they had a 13-year-old child that got hit in the hit in the chest with a basketball. That child was shocked 50 times with a defibrillator. 3 hours worth of CPR, and survived that because of the rapid stuff that was available. Brought this up about 2 years ago, and nothing really happened, and then I finally got somebody on the board, Chuck, to follow through with this. And the idea of this is that when you have the situations where you have the potential of testing somebody, and you can find out that they would have a cardiac rhythm that is a part of this, that you can break. And that's what's called an EKG. I think everybody knows what an EKG is, and this is the first place I know of that would be doing it school-wide. I think, except for Grafton, I think they did it. What happens is that they have fire department has a person that comes down and does their 12-lead EKGs for Silver Creek, Random Lake, and all that kind of stuff. And after the one we initially looked at fell through, I contacted that company and worked with Chuck and Mike, and they're going to offer, if this passes tonight, those kids, I'll let you know, but any child or anybody that's in sports, up to have a pre-hospital EKG. It's the only way you can find out if somebody died from this syndrome is they have to go back and test the other family, because it's not going to show up on a damage on a heart. It's not like a heart attack or a brain or stroke. It's the rhythm, and if you're dead, you don't have a rhythm, so you can't really tell what they caused the cardiac arrest. The one up in Manitowoc, they actually, after they brought that child back, went and did the family, and the father and the 2 other kids had that same rhythm, and they all had an implanted defibrillator. So this rhythm is easy to diagnose, and it's a 2-minute test, and the school has welcomed, my wife was a nurse at Children's for 40 years, and I did this. So in order to get this program started, and Wisconsin WIA recommends this EKG, but it's not required. Because of the cost of the inner city school, I mean anywhere, and what this company is doing is a pretty good price. It's $50 for every EKG. They will do the EKG, they will read it, they will put that in a separate envelope, and they will mail all those envelopes together to the school nurse. The school nurse, without opening them, will then pass them out to the families, make sure they get them. No record is kept of what the rhythm is or anything like that, and it's done, and the family, if it says they have this rhythm, it would be documented on the inside. You need to say, cardiologist. In order to get this started, and my wife and I talked about this, I have some handouts here. We have offered $2,000 for the first to get this up and running, and hopefully after that the school would be able to take that on. The first year is when almost everybody would, let's say freshmen, sophomore, junior, seniors are gonna be doing it. Well, next year, only the freshmen will probably be doing it, because the sophomore, junior, seniors, it's not something that's getting progressively worse, like cancer or heart disease. It's a rhythm or it's not that rhythm. And the proposal is that we would support that if the school allows it. There's different things that are involved. The school nurse would go with the students. I think the fire department has their testing done at 4 in the afternoon they start, and we were talking to the person that maybe they would allow the school students to come over like at 1 or 2. Maybe take a van or whatever. The intent is the school nurse we're going with. If it's a female, they're gonna do, the testing would be done by a female. You can do that with a sports bra, and you don't have to express the breast or anything like that. And it's a valuable thing. Not only if you, hopefully, there's more kids die of this than school shootings in like a total of 3 years. You hear about it on TV, another child died of this on the football field, or that, and basketball games and everything else. That's why the defibrillators are here, because those are the things that bring those people back. Shortly after that child of a man-in-law is when they put defibrillators in the school.
Wait, could you identify, is that called prolonged
QT syndrome. So in
called?
other words, it's like if you go, but if you go, heartbeat's supposed to go like that, like this, it goes like this, and then there's a prolonged, and then it goes like this. So that, if you hit the wrong time, that's when you gotta go with cardiac arrest. So there's countries that make it required for all students to have this done before going into any athletics. WIA recommends it, but it's not going to require it because of the cost. Cost of the schools, cost of whatever, and everything else. So, talking to this company and talking to Chuck, or this company, it would like to maybe start this, statewide or whatever, because they've never really thought about it, but now they see the potential of it. Maybe other schools will pick it up because this company comes down to Boostburg, Falls, all that kind of stuff. So we're going
Blaine, I just want to kind of clarify on this too. So for the first year, this is voluntary.
It's always voluntary.
So this isn't something, and when we first talked about it initially, you kind of came and said everybody should do it, and that's why it didn't go anywhere, right? We don't want to force parents to do something they don't want to do, but this is because of Blaine's generous and his wife's generous support and just your passion for this. We are going to offer this to our families. We will put it in our weekly newsletters at the high school. We will get word out and do those things, that if anybody wants to do this, we'll pay the first $50. And then what our agreement was, Chuck, if you want to if we get a response more than 50 as a board, we can talk about what we want to do with that. Because the date is, or 40, I'm sorry, because the date's in November.
November 11th, so when I contacted the company today, and I think Chuck, you get copied on it, they are working on a special waiver, and how they're going to notify the people, all that kind of stuff. Make sure they allow that the school nurse to be with the persons. The school nurse doesn't have to be in there if the person doesn't want it. It's barely, you can just lift up your shirt and you don't have to take off your bras or whatever. And it's a very simple thing to do. And hopefully they don't find anybody. And the risks are in this area very little, because I don't think there's that many people. But if there is, then they want to make sure that the families are aware of it, because then the brothers and the sisters and one of the parents probably had that hereditary. It's only hereditary, it's not like, drugs and that kind of stuff. So,
just want to emphasize the proposal here is that we offer this, again, not mandatory, just as an option for parents to come in and have their kids do it. And I don't know that the parents would even have to be there. They would have to sign off as a waiver for the child to go over there with the school nurse to have this test done. As Blaine said, it's about a 2-minute test. The company, if somebody wants to look this up, is called Med Compass. They're based out of Minnesota. They're, from what I could find, a very reputable company. They've been doing it, I think, with the Random Lake Fire Department for several years, where they come and do an annual testing. And I just want to emphasize that once the test is done for your child, there's no reason to have any more testing done. If the result comes back that you might have this condition, that information will go home to the parent. It's totally up to the parent then whether they want to seek additional treatment. We would encourage that they have, depending on their health care access, that they would have follow-up treatment with a cardiologist, but that's totally up to the parent. it's not something that, from my understanding, we as a district can't require or are not going to get involved in that. If they want to come to the district and say, hey, my child has this condition based on this test, we'd like to explore it further. I'm sure we could provide some kind of guidance as to where we can go and get follow-up care. But I mean, I think Blaine's generous proposal, him and his wife, based on their history in healthcare and background, it's an incredible opportunity that I don't think any other school in the state has done yet. It might take 3 or 4 kids that want to do this. It might be 30 or 40 students. I'm not really sure, but we'd like to get this off the ground. And as Blaine said, November 1st, I spoke with the fire chief. November 11th, thank you. They're starting at 4 p.m. On that day, he had no problem with the school contracting with MedCompass to have students come in to the fire department and have the testing done there, as long as we didn't impede or interfere on their testing.
It'd be great if you could have been done in August before anybody starts football, basketball, baseball, or wrestling, but it just happens in fall, and this is when they're coming now. If it turns out to be a bigger thing, I'm sure you can work on this. You would come down and do it every fall if you had so many people. But the reality is that to get this started, hopefully, and this company's hoping that it can go statewide, or they cover 3 states. So I think I don't know if you have to approve it tonight or not, and then we can get a hold of them.
It's just advisory.
Just what?
Advisory.
It's advisory?
Yeah.
So I made some copies, unfortunately, the copy machine was coming. I will forward that stuff to you if you want to forward
Get us the
it.
information, and that will be going out, and we will be putting that out to our parents and putting up a registration to let us know if you're interested.
And it'd be nice if you had yes or no. Yes, we want them, no, we don't. Not that the child didn't get it to the parent or whatever.
No,
It's either yes or no.
it'll be in a flyer that goes home to parents every
Oh, okay.
Friday. We have school messages that can be read that way.
Ask a question. So Blaine, first off, thanks for your generosity and for, looking out for our youth. I think it's really important in this day and age. My question is this, is this something that's not covered, when somebody takes their child to a medical facility to get their annual physicals or whatever physicals are needed? Is this something that would not be covered by somebody's regular medical insurance?
EKGs are rarely done on anybody under 40, unless you have severe chest pain and you don't are out of the weight. Even after 40, you may not do a one scanner. But unless you have chest pain or history of families or other type of stuff, so no, EKGs are not. I don't even know it's covered in your pre-hospital.
Yeah, having a daughter that just went through the physical, it's kind of, reflexes, check the eyes, it's about a 10-minute procedure.
And maybe like a
for
concussion
athletics
test
disability.
initially,
Yeah.
do you do that?
Our trainer, that's something done here where there's pre-test on
And the
concussions.
requirement should be a defibrillator should never be more than 2 minutes away from all sporting events. And I think you guys take them all to rate.
I believe you'll always have it on. Yeah.
So I hope if your family, kids, and you have kids in there, get a hold of them, and hopefully there's more than 40. Yeah. All right,
Thank you very much,
Thanks,
Blaine.
Blaine.
Thank you.
Thank you, Blaine.
Okay, back to our original agenda then. That takes us to board committee reports. We did not have any committee meetings since last month. And now building reports.
All right, so I'm going to kick it off with our strong classrooms. We had a great start to the school year. We have a lot of planning happening, some new curriculums that we're excited to be launching in our classrooms, but just a really great start to the beginning of the school year. In our PLCs, we're really focusing on data and helping our students achieve to their highest potential. So those PLC conversations have started the last few weeks, so just helping support our staff through that as well. We did a fall diagnostic through Edmentum. That has been our universal screener for the past few years. And based on those screeners, letters were sent out to our elementary parents as part of our Act 20 regulation, letting them know that we had a screener. And students that are scoring in that lowest 25th percentile are getting an additional diagnostic, and then a plan is being made on how we can support them even more. We just did a curriculum night. It was supposed to be last week Monday, but we moved it to tonight. We had a few parents there, but it was a good chance to talk with families about what we're doing in the elementary school and just kind of tell them about the pilots and things that we have going on.
Wanted to share Start College Now courses, all the different kinds of courses that our high school students are engaged in, different areas, welding, medical terminology, advanced ag, biochemistry, animation art, criminal justice, and courses to prepare some students that are on the dental hygienist track. We're already in conversations with our different area technical colleges, looking to want to expand our CAD offerings as well. So we have a great partnership going here with our technical schools. Jake Frias, our high school counselor, he has started what he calls his scope meetings, which is student counselor parent engagement meetings, and that's where he meets with every single student along with their parents to talk about their 4-year plan. So he'll meet with them starting their freshman year, and then that'll occur each year thereafter to make sure that whatever the students' interests are or their post-high school plans and goals, that they're making sure they're getting into the classes that they need to where they're going.
Awesome, and so we've really been talking about strong culture as well in the elementary school and just teaching kids the tools that they need to be successful in the school. So that was how to walk in the hallway, how to do the bus, how we go through the lunch line. It's all important things that we need to know as we're going through our elementary school. We are also kind of adding this character ed pilot in, we started in first grade last year as part of the career and college readiness standards. So our teachers are helping to kind of keep it moving forward, and we're adding it to second grade this year as well.
All right. So we had our kickoff assembly at the middle school. They do a monthly assembly with a theme, and this month's theme is compassion. And so they've been engaging in conversations of what does that mean, what does it look like, how do you show compassion towards others. And certainly after our Monday incident, our kids have really shown that. They have held great compassion for the students who were on bus 17, as well as for Mr. Hall. I just want to say well done, Mr. Hall, with working with the kids. I'm with you, Mrs. Grumman. High school class officers have been selected, and the class officers have been working with the different grade levels on all of the homecoming activities. They've been embarking on those throughout the entire month. The Ramway time has been focused solely on homecoming activities. I do want to address the one question about the girls' football being canceled. It has not been canceled. We swapped it so that way we're supposed to get rain all day tomorrow. So we wanted to ensure that the football game would happen, and so that is on Wednesday, and so then the boys' volleyball will happen tomorrow. So those were swapped to ensure that that had occurred as well.
All right, and then our strong community connections. I encourage everybody to come out on Friday night for the color run. It's happening in the, what do we call it?
Random Lake Entertainment District.
There we go. And the proceeds of the color run are going to be going to our families that were affected from the bus accident. Just really excited and proud of our PTO and our families in the community that are helping to support. And then that's it.
And the next two, though those got on there, they shouldn't have been on there, so they're not happening. But want to do the acknowledgements. Our Herb Cole candidate each year, there's a teacher that is nominated for the Herb Cole Award, and this year that teacher is Mrs. Lisa Knuth. She is a middle school and high school algebra math teacher. Shout out to Jake Frias, high school counselor. He was named the 2024 Chamber of Commerce Workforce Development Educator of the Year, and that is really due to his dedication and passion working with the students and really finding different ways to engage them post-high school aspirations. RLHS named a finalist for the new Manufacturing Alliance's 13th Annual Excellence in Manufacturing K-12 Partnership Award. So that's the Random Lake High School, and that is really with the work that the Tech Ed Department has been doing. Diana Lee, she's one of our new hires for Tech Ed this year. her connections in the tech ed world is phenomenal. She's already been bringing in just a variety of things and partners working with our kids. And really working on welding certifications and all sorts of things. So that's really going to be exciting to see where we go. But we were named a finalist for that award. And then last but not least, Sutton named as a semifinalist for the 2025 National Merit Scholarship. He is the only student representative from Sheboygan County. And this is just an incredible award. And in my time here, we have had 3. And so that's pretty incredible. Even your larger districts don't necessarily have that many. So well done to Sutton, and congratulations to him.
Thank you. Any questions?
I have a couple questions. With the start of the new year, where a lot of people are thinking about yearbooks, and I heard concerns about that there wouldn't be a yearbook this year, or that we didn't have an advisor. Are you able to tell me?
We have 2 advisors.
Okay.
Yep, they're working together on that, so that is inaccurate information.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. And then I'm also hearing that with the wind, that it's making it more difficult for some students to get help from their teachers. And I'm just wondering if there's discussions about that, because I'm hearing concerns about it.
So what's happening with the wind time is that right now we're trying to get that responsive scheduler to work. We have worked out all of the bugs. Kim has been phenomenal working with that. So once we get that and that routine down, we have to keep in mind September is not a good gauge of the month because of all the homecoming activities. We've had literally 8 days with that new system. And so looking at, once we get through homecoming, we get this routine down, and then the next steps are we're layering in where the kids are going to be able to ask to sign up to where they want to go. That is our ultimate plan, but we have to start tight in order to get that routine going, so then we can expand it, layer it.
Okay, so right now it seems really limited
Right.
on the options, but it will grow.
Yes.
Is what I'm hearing.
That is the full plan, where to actually not only teachers asking to meet with students, but students asking to meet with teachers.
Okay, and I guess that was the biggest concern, is students initiating it, because if you're missing an assignment or failing, then you're requested, but if a student wants help, otherwise, that's been a challenge to try and get that support.
Mhm.
Or not being allowed to leave the class. So I don't know how it works, but what I'm hearing is it's still not 100%.
Well, and we're really trying to engage our kids too, that there are some layers of questions that can be answered with either your study hall teacher or our peer tutors. Like, we've got some phenomenal kids in math and science. And Mr. Wilcherdink and Mr. Olson are working with the peer tutor lab. And they are going to be great resources that students can go to just get general assignment questions answered, that then leaves that teacher time open for those more in-depth reteaching type things. So it's a work in progress.
Okay.
We have not arrived by any means. Okay. And there has been slow start with that. But that is where we're hoping to go. Once we get through homecoming, we're going to have a solid stretch with it. And like I said, I mean, shout out to Kim. She's been working with Mr. Olson and the teachers every day. We're like, we needed to do this, we needed to do this, we needed to do this. And she's been phenomenal with making sure that that system is working the way we want it to work, so that way we can expand it the way we want to expand it.
Is the peer tutor lab, is that new this year?
No, we had it last year as well. And it's trying to encourage the kids to, use your other resources that may also answer some of those easy homework questions that don't necessarily need to go to the teacher. I can tell you Mrs. Donahue had a line out her door. Some of those questions could have been easily answered through the peer tutoring lab. So it's also trying to break down some of those mindsets that can only go to the teacher, where we have other resources. That maybe try that first, and if that doesn't answer your question, then we're going to go there. Mm-hmm.
And I think this is a good time, because there was a lot of discussion about change, right? The first thing, it took me to get here before I had a National Merit Scholar. I had been in education for 15 years, and we had one, and now we've had 2 in the last 3 years. Per capita, if Sutton gets to be a finalist, our 2 years ago that student was a finalist as a semifinalist, we may have the most national merit scholars per capita when you look at what our graduating class is in the state, okay? And then how are these things happening? It's because we're looking at instruction differently. Our high school is not the same high school that many of you graduated from, right? We have things like, as I look at Mrs. Down back there, elementary isn't one teacher in one classroom. It's about collaborating in a way that we are helping. I was in a conversation last week where 2 third-grade teachers came into their support interventionist, and they're talking about how we're splitting up teachers and how we're taking students that are being successful and pushing them on and helping intervene with the students there. We know the science of education, and there's a lot of education facilities that aren't using the science. We're doing the science. RAM time, advantage time. These are interventions. We know we need to meet kids where they're at and help them grow farther. And the reason you're seeing this, on top of these 2 national merit scholars last year, nearly 10% of our class scored a 29 or higher on their ACT, and we had our first, I think, ever perfect ACT. So I understand change is uneasy, but start looking at the things that are happening, and you're going to see why this is happening. Now, I heard about we've had staff turnover. Yes, we have. I will tell you that we have a staff that understand that we work collaboratively. There's no more teaching in your classroom and closing your door and figuring out if you had a good year at the end of the year. We work collaboratively. We are in there. Our supervision model has changed. We're doing those things that your kids, I will tell you right now, I wish I could convince my daughter to come here, but you know how it is with a 15-year-old daughter. We're doing the things that should be done at every school. And I will testify, this board has been supportive. We understand that sometimes this isn't comfortable, but RAM time, win time, advantage, the things we're doing, the reason we're giving out passes to every student for Big 12, we're trying to do the things that lead to our vision that's about providing tomorrow's leaders with a distinct advantage, and we think our kids are going to be those leaders. And these are the things that we're doing to make it happen. And anytime you want to walk into a classroom or see how this goes, you're all invited, because this isn't a school if you don't believe in it, but just know that we put a lot of time, and I think we've been very, very lucky to have almost the same team together for a lot of this, and that's why we're getting to where we are, and that's why we're seeing some of these outcomes.
I think it is really important to try new things and have change, but I think we need to be very cautious and careful for the students that don't handle change very well. And I believe this year has had, I've been in the school district for 25 years. It's my last year as a student here. I have never experienced this before, with so many changes and confusion, and it's overwhelming, and it's been frustrating. And I do believe we're meeting students with a lot of patience, I hope, from the teachers. But I think I'm hearing it from other parents here, and when we talked last week about it, I would like us to, if we can just keep where we're at right now and tweak it to make it work. Then hearing about homecoming changes, it was like, oh, one more thing. So, and I'll say it again, I'm very concerned about what lunch looks like now for our high school. I'm concerned our high school is losing its identity and autonomy, and I love that we are a combined district, and there's so many benefits of that, but I think it's very important that our high schoolers get to have, lunchtime they're great, and I walked in here and saw the seniors sitting in the middle of the lunchroom with little kids all around, including kindergartners, and it made me very sad for those seniors that this is their last year here, and they feel like a little kid. So those changes really concern me, and I'm just sharing my frustration. So I hope it's something we're hopefully, seeing how we can make it even better for our students. And I know you talked about privileges coming. I guess we're all just eagerly anticipating what else is coming that's good, but then that's change again. So I don't know. It is overwhelming, and I think it's important to share that as well.
Okay.
I just have one little piece. I think we are doing some really great things here too. I mean, there's so many great things going on. I agree with the whole change, there's a lot of change, we voted for a lot of change, but then the whole homecoming thing, we're taking away instructional time from these kids. Like you said, it's taking more time to get these other things done, to be, they should be learning during the day, doing the stuff at night. I feel like they're just taking time away from the instruction, and it's, like you said, it's being, you're waiting for homecoming to be done, because then it'll be, you can work on these things. I feel like that, there it is, right there.
All the activities are taking place during Ramway time. It's not taking away any of the class
But you're
time.
still adjusting their schedules.
Right, because we moved
shortening.
Ramway time to the end of the day, so that way they could engage in those. That wasn't the intention, was to take away any instructional time. You can ask any teacher, they do not want to give up instructional
They're going to get their
time.
full instructional time
Yes.
in those days.
Yes, they
I
get
guess I
the
wasn't
full.
clear on how all of this homecoming stuff works.
And this intervention time is times to, when we talk about having academic career planning, talking about behavior, there's all kinds of things that are thrust into public education that we need to have conversations with kids that doesn't fit in a math curriculum, doesn't fit in a science curriculum, and they're good for kids. Financial literacy, all these things that we know students need to lead with. This time, this Ramway, this Advantage time, these are times that we can have these fun little cultural things, but we can also do financial literacy, we can do these. It gives us the flexibility to do that and not have to sacrifice math minutes or any of the other 7 periods. So it's creating a schedule that lives and breathes and can do these things with still making sure that learning is a priority.
Yeah, and I just feel like it's a community thing, though, the whole homecoming, like grandparents come to that stuff. I feel like now we took it away, we put it during the day, and I still am frustrated about it, but maybe it's another time to have a talk about it, but I just feel like that was things that our community came to and enjoyed, and now it's only during the day. And so, yeah, people can come during the day, great, but
I will say that was something that came from that class about doing in front of kids. We will assess how tomorrow goes and how Wednesday goes, and we're always looking for feedback and improvement. So we will see how this week goes. I think there's more exciting homecoming things happening this week than any other week I have been aware of, and it's about building culture. So yeah, let's assess it, see how it goes. But yes, we are listening. We're always looking, and maybe too much. Maybe we're too sensitive, and then we change things, trying to make things perfect. So.
Yes, go ahead.
And how have the schedule changes been communicated to the families? The homecoming schedules and their changes?
I know every Friday, I think both of our principals do a fantastic job. Every Friday, everything that's happening in the school is sent out, and it has what the following week's going to happen, what does it look like. I would assume that our homecoming schedule was in Friday, letting everybody know. Please,
letting us know that volleyball is tomorrow?
What's that?
Letting us know that volleyball is tomorrow?
That decision came down at the end of the day by the class advisors, and they pushed it out right away to the students.
So was it communicated to the parents?
Unfortunately not. You're right.
So in the future, though, like if we know that this is going to change for homecoming, like at the beginning of the year, could we send something up? Because, as a parent wanting to take off and watch your kid do some of this stuff, not everyone can, the Friday before it occurs, decide, I'm going to take off of work next week. It's not always very flexible. Right. So I just feel like if you could tell us at the beginning of the year there's going to be a change to homecoming this year, we're going to have it during the day, it'd be nice to know. So
the conversation, as I heard it from the class, officers and the advisors, were there's a lot of students that can't, because of jobs, because of other things, can't participate, and that's how we make sure everyone can be here. So I think this was a student-centered decision that impacted parents, and like I said, we will see how this works and decide in the future who's more important, the parents or the kids that can attend. And I think we're always going to be student-based first.
So the students want this? They decided?
Yes, they did. They were the ones that brought it forward in the spring to the teachers, and then the teachers brought it to the building leadership team as well as the class advisors to say, is there any way to put these activities during the day so that the entire student body could be present for it? And that was how it came about. And there's national movement, because part of this is about school pride, right?
There's schools that are now looking at finding ways to bring basketball games, one basketball game into the day so kids can play in front of a full house and do those things. Trying to find creative ways that our students that are busier and busier with things that have nothing to do with school, that are outside of school, trying to bring that school pride back. And those are some of the things that we're always looking. Now, we haven't done anything, but someday I'd love to have a volleyball game, something in the gym, something here where we have our entire district rooting on our kids and having a full gym to do that. I think every one of our athletes deserve that. So these are always student-centered decisions and trying to make this the best experience and most memorable of their time.
So students that leave for like youth apprenticeship or they're working during the school day, because I know like a lot of our seniors aren't here for much of the day. Right, will they be here on Tuesday and Wednesday for the community?
Actually, I talked with some of them as they left today, and some said that they had been asking off. Now, I can't say for all of them, you know, but I know that the gentlemen that I spoke to, the 6 of them that were leaving, I asked them if they were able to coordinate the schedules with their employers, and they said yes, that they were definitely going to be here for different activities. I can't say again, all of them.
If you have I don't know who has a junior, but last year Junior Mania was held on a teacher in service during the school day. So any kids that wanted to go had to not work because it was on a school day that we were going to have school. So then
Wasn't Junior Mania at night?
It usually was at night. But I'm just saying, so this is just something to look for. If any of you have juniors, you have to take off during the day on a teacher in service.
That was a one-off. They plan to have Junior Mania in the evening.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was a one-off.
I think we got a lot of feedback from that didn't turn out the way we had hoped, and then we're looking at different ways to doing that. So, to be honest with you, some of those things that we hold near and dear, our kids don't find as near and dear. We had this conversation about parades and all these other things. There's a lot of things that we remember very fondly from the time we're here that aren't important to our kids, so we're trying to find ways to put excitement and do these things so they stay important. And, those are things our kids are different than when we were at school.
Mine will be real quick. I just remember when I was a little kid, and I remember Brian being in high school and elementary. Sorry, because my sister and you were in the same class. So it was like elementary, middle school had nothing to do with high school, anything. And it was a privilege when you got into high school that you got to do all these fun things. And now it's just like, and I understand that you're trying to get the whole community involved, but when you're, like, I remember my older girls that are gone, they're like, that's no fair. They get to dress up now for homecoming and do all these fun things that the high school did. So it's taking out all that fun when you get into high school because they're already doing all that.
Not earning it.
So, yeah, it's like that's like a privilege to be in high school to do all these fun things and do the floats, and now it's golf courts and all this other stuff. So it's kind of like, and I don't know, and I heard what you said, like who mentioned kids from spring, but I'm not sure what kids from spring, is it the class that graduated that did it? I mean, I don't know, but I mean, I think moving forward, it should, I don't know. I think being in high school is such a privilege to be able to do certain things that I don't think middle school or elementary should be involved in to a certain point. So when you do get up to, you're like, oh, I get to do all this stuff that, my sisters all used to do. And like Lexi being a sophomore, she's kind of like, oh, this stinks. Like my sister's got to do this, and what do I have to look forward to? So I think that constant change is just needs to hold a little bit and make it a privilege for these high schoolers to do things that other kids in the school can't do.
Okay. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Let's go to we have a request from the ag teacher, Whitney. I don't see her here tonight.
No, she unfortunately could not be here tonight. She wasn't feeling well, but she did just wanted to express that she's very excited, and so are the students for the convention.
Okay. And they've gone?
Yes, every year. Yep.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve travel for FFA October 23rd through the 26th this year?
So moved.
Rini, is there a second? Katie, any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We need to adopt our special education policy and procedure handbook. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Chuck, is there a second?
I'll second.
Amy, any questions or discussion on that?
We just kind of use the DPI model for this, so it's something we've done for many, many years. It's what I inherited, we continue to do that, so.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We do have new support or salaried staff. Is that middle school paraprofessional, Tracy Jeffries? So we welcome her.
Yes.
Okay. Never
What's
know.
her
Yeah.
position?
Paraprofessional. middle
Working with
school.
our middle school. Yeah,
Oh, just generally, okay.
yeah.
And notification of co-curricular coaches and advisors, freshman class advisors, Roger Jones and Dan McCain, and co-Hatchet Club advisors, Travis Olson with Natalie. Hatchet Club, is that in?
Oh, we've had that many years.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, you guys haven't reported on it. Like you, Susan. We're watching you. Okay, how they doing?
They're
Did they do
cutting
anything?
things.
Yeah. Okay.
Actually, this is the group that does the camping trip, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's really, it's a very big
Okay,
concert.
okay, so we do talk about it.
Yes,
we
don't
do.
just say
Yeah,
that it's the
yeah,
hatchet.
yeah.
Okay.
We don't have kids wheeling around with hatchets on them. No, but good clarification.
Okay, we also need to approve our submission of the ESSO. Do we get that one?
ESEA.
ESEA, Consolidated Plan and Continued Participation in the Title Programs, which reauthorize the No Child Left Behind. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Rini, is there a second?
I'll second.
Amy, these are our Title I, 2, 3.
These are federal, this is where we get money from the federal
Right.
government, yeah.
Anybody have any other questions on those? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And we have our fundraising information as to who's raising money and how much they want.
I have an addition to that.
Okay.
We are going to be hosting the NED program. It's something they've done in the past. We actually don't make any money from it, but they do sell yo-yos and it pays forward to the next group. So they, it's something they had done, but I missed the report, so just want to make sure.
Anyone have any questions on those? Saving up your money? All right, and open records request.
So I have in your packet, and it's nice that we have parents here as well. So right now for the next 6 weeks, schools are kind of in the center of a lot of the political turmoil that's going on in the nation. And this was one of the things here. In here, we had a community member request all of the emails and phone numbers of all our parents for the district. In here, you can see they cited a lawsuit that was happening down in Mequon-Teensville School District. And consulting legal and other things, we have turned them down. We don't feel like this applies in this situation. We are a government entity, and there's a lot of things that we can meet for open, that open records request we can give. But this we feel like is something that goes above and beyond. I wanted to let you know because there are districts that, when they deny, are being fought over this that could go farther legally. So this is just another one of the battles that we have here. I wanted to make sure you guys knew that this is initially denied. If it goes further, we will probably bring on legal and go from there. But I just wanted to make sure you guys knew, and since you're here, hope you know we take that stuff serious, and we will do what we can to keep those things private, because there's no reason people need to have all those email addresses and all those contact information. So stay tuned. This may have implications on our policy and some other things to tighten this up even more, so we're working on some of these things, but I just want to let you know something on the side we've been kind of working on here.
Dr. Trimmer, who's asking for this?
Is it on here? Tom Steckel.
And do we know for what purpose?
Looking to send political advertising.
If it turns out that you do end up having to provide it to him,
We would make sure everyone knew.
you would let us know that?
Yeah, yeah, and it wouldn't go without.
Without a fight. I appreciate it.
I get enough phone calls already, we don't need to get you hit more, so. And you know, the thing is, emails and phone numbers it's currency now, right? People can do this, they can just start selling our information and going from there, so I think we're good, but I want to make sure the board knew what we're doing, and since we have a good audience, it's good for you guys to know too.
Okay, and informational items.
Patty, you want to just talk a little bit about the budget? Just get ready, because next month is our annual meeting. So Patty and Chuck will be on main stage in the auditorium. You want to just give a little update about our budget here?
Budget is going well. I'm balanced right now. We're about $300,000 less in income this year than we were last year due to ESSER funds and high-cost transportation, and we sold a bus. So I've reflected that in our expenditures also, so we are balanced at this point. Numbers aren't quite final yet, though, of course.
And I just want to say, we did not hit a financial cliff that other districts have, because we've been strategic with those federal funds that we knew were going to have a shelf life, and we were able to keep doing the things that we wanted to that meet our vision and mission, and do that with $300,000 less than last year. Reminder, annual meeting, we aren't the third Monday in October, it's the fourth Monday. This is the one, we do twice, right? 2 times a year where we switch our board meeting. This allows us to actually know what we're going to the annual meeting with. We will know all the numbers from the state, so when we present, we're presenting not what we think, but actually 90% of everything we can know at that time. There's always, with a close to $11 million budget, there's always some nuances, but we can give you a really, really good picture from there. Legislative update. I left that. This was last. I didn't take this off for this one. That's where I got the worst phone call of my career, and it got here. So I didn't hear from the legislators last week, Monday morning. I do want to get on your radar. We should talk about a possible retreat. We always do a fall retreat, so I'll be sending out some Mondays, probably in later November, because we got a lot of meetings here. We'll try to do maybe late November last year. I think we did early December, and that worked out pretty good from there. And we always talk about strong community connections. Got a call 2 weeks ago from one of my friends at the chamber and said, we have the U.S. Marine Corps band coming to Sheboygan County, and we're looking for a rural school and an urban school that they can come and march and perform. And Susan is a huge music fan, and we said, yes, we will take it. We're finding ways to have them come out and march here. From here, they're also going to South High and doing some things there. We're going to have them talk to our kids, then perform to our kids, do all kinds of cool things. And then we don't have a home game, but we're playing at Howard's Grove that night. So we convinced them to come to Howard's Grove with us, and then they will be doing a marching performance halftime or before the game.
It'll be doing the pregame and then the Star Spangled Banner.
Star Spangled Banner. So very, very cool. It's nice to have friends in high places, and we get to be one of the districts that get called when cool things happen. So that is October 11th. Our Howard's Grove game, so come watch our RLO boys play, and also some really cool music.
Great. All right, this takes us into closed session. The board will go into closed session as permitted under Wisconsin State Statute, Chapter 19, Section 1985(1)(f). to review a report on seclusion and restraint instances. This annual report to the board is due by October 1st. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
That is Chuck and Andrew. This requires a roll call vote. Brian?
Yes.
Hey, I say yes. Amy? Chuck?
Yes.
Rena? We are in closed session.
I think what we're gonna do is we'll relocate and go to a classroom.
Thank you all very much for coming.